information contained in this video and/or audio is provided as is for educational and informational purposes only and should not serve as the basis for any trading or investing decisions. Little Grapevine makes no representations and disclaims all express, implied, and statutory warranties of any kind to any viewer or other third party. Neither Little Grapevine nor any of its affiliates makes any endorsement of any particular company, security, product, or financial strategy, and nothing contained in this video and/or audio should be construed as investment advice. Please be aware that we and participants viewing presentations and/or live webcasts and engaging in Q&As may own, buy, or sell shares of featured companies. Investors should undertake their own due diligence and carefully evaluate companies before investing. Please see safe harbor statements of companies participating in Little Grapevine events by viewing their videos and slide presentations at littlegrapevine.com.
Hello, and thank you for watching. My name is Sean McEwen. I'm the founder and CEO of KonaTel, a national telecommunications provider. KonaTel currently operates two primary lines of business: hosted telecommunications services and mobile services. Our first subsidiary, Appearon, is a software-based communications platform provider. Over the past several years, Appearon has developed a national cloud network that supports a variety of fixed and wireless telecommunications solutions, including voice over IP services, API services, messaging, mobile voice, and wireless data solutions. Our second subsidiary, Infinity Mobile, is one of a small group of FCC-licensed national wireless Lifeline carriers. For those of you not familiar, Lifeline is a federal government program created in the 1980s that provides a partial carrier subsidy for delivering basic voice and data services to low-income families. KonaTel currently employs 23 full-time and 6 part-time staff throughout the US. Up to this point, most of our growth has come from word-of-mouth sales. But as with many software companies, we have reached that point where we are shifting from an engineering-oriented company to a sales-oriented company, aggressively expanding our sales outreach. I understand the importance of a great team, and I can say that we have an exceptional staff and board of directors with significant industry knowledge. As a fellow common shareholder with a significant personal stake in our company, I am sincerely excited about our growth opportunity in delivering value to all shareholders. As our company continues to expand, I look forward to more chats. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you to everyone in the Little Grapevine network. I know they've got some questions, so why don't we go through those?
Please discuss your going public process and why you went public.
After 3 years in telecom, I decided to reposition the company and expand mostly our intellectual property and go back to my own roots, which is a software-based telecom company. So I took KonaTel public through a reverse merger, so I'd have another type of capital, equity, to use for acquisitions. In fact, at the time that the company went public, we already had 2 acquisitions teed up and ready to go.
Before you went public, what was KonaTel's main business focus?
KonaTel was an MVNO. MVNO stands for Mobile Virtual Network Operator, which is basically a cellular reseller. Companies like TracFone and Virgin Mobile and KonaTel, we purchase additional cellular capacity from the cell carriers that we all know, like Verizon and AT&T, and then we use our own brand name and market cellular service out into the community. So we're a cellular reseller.
How do you generate revenue through your MVNO relationships?
Under the old MVNO model, we were selling to small and medium-sized business. We weren't selling cellular service to consumers. So we focused on small companies, and one of the advantages we could offer to a small customer is we could give them a connection into different networks simultaneously, like AT&T and Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, all from one-stop shopping. So we could build custom plans for small companies. And that was really our focus for the first few years.
Given the low margin nature of an MVNO and their lack of ability to really gain meaningful competitive advantages, why did you even decide to enter the MVNO business?
It was, I had experience in the MVNO business. I had consulted for a number of years with MVNOs, mostly outside the United States. I liked the recurring revenue model, and when I decided to go back into business after retiring from my first venture, I really wanted to embrace that recurring revenue model. So I understood it. I was comfortable with it.
How long were you operating the MVNO business before you decided to go public through a reverse merger?
About 3 years. So about 3 years into it, again, realizing that building tangible value through intellectual property and other types of value in the company was important. So I and people I were working with, we drew up a plan to expand the company beyond MVNO.
Did the growth of your legacy MVNO business live up to your expectations?
No, I would say it was a bit disappointing, which is another motivator to expand beyond just pure basic cellular service.
What were some of the early challenges you faced with your MVNO business?
MVNOs, we purchase our capacity or wholesale minutes, you might say, and wholesale data from the big carriers. So there is a certain amount of competition with the big carriers, and you're beholden to those big carriers. And the margins in that MVNO world are compressing often. So that was a challenge, and it was a disadvantage. Being just MVNO.
Before we get into some of the new businesses that you acquired during your going public process, why don't you give us a little detail about your history, your past business ventures, and what motivated you to launch another business venture?
My first venture was a software company, started in 1983. And in the early 1990s, my partner and I at the time converted that company to a software product company. And that company is called TriTech. And we created the modern day 911 emergency dispatching system that are used in cities all around North America and even in Europe and in parts of the Pacific Rim. So that business was a good business, good margins. It didn't have a recurring revenue component like we see in telecom. So I was CEO of that company for 17 years. During that time, built it up to about 120, maybe 130 employees. And we had a successful exit. We sold the controlling interest to Westview Capital Partners. And my partner continued on that company, and they continue to grow it. Today, I think they're up to several thousand employees. So following that company, I spent 4 years in early stage investing. Some people will call it angel investing. So pre-venture capital, post friends and family. And from that experience, I learned that I don't like being a passive investor, sitting on the sidelines. I like to be more in a control position, especially if I'm risking my own capital. So I started consulting with telecom companies outside the United States to get my feet wet again in that space. My background is software. I'm a software engineer by trade. So I got into the MVNO space after that. After several years of consulting, I funded the startup of KonaTel. I put in from the start about $2.4 million of actual cash paid in capital. And then, you know, the story about going public a few years ago, and it really expanding KonaTel beyond an MVNO, embracing what we call the CPaaS world. We acquired additional FCC licenses and really have grown well past just being simply a cellular reseller.
Your hosted service business was established as a result of the acquisition of Appearon in 2018. does Appearon still depend on your relationships with Tier 1 telecom companies?
It does, but all telecom companies, we are interdependent on each other to some degree. The example I give is if you're an AT&T customer and you want to call your friend and they're a Verizon customer, then AT&T and Verizon have to have an interconnection agreement between them. So it's a lattice, it's like a spider's web. And so we're all somewhat dependent or interdependent on each other, the telecom companies.
Please go over the differences between CPaaS and UCaaS. And while you're doing that, why don't you get into what Appearon does and doesn't accomplish?
CPaaS is an acronym. Telecom's loaded with all these acronyms. Stands for Communications Platform as a Service. UCaaS is Unified Communications as a Service, is UCaaS. In a nutshell, CPaaS is a platform company. A CPaaS company provides the foundation to create a telecom company or provide services to a UCaaS company. UCaaS can be thought of like companies like Vonage and 8x8 that have historically provided hosted PBX services. Those are phone services for businesses. And many times UCaaS companies, not all of them, but a fair number of the smaller ones will purchase we call termination, origination services and phone numbers from the CPaaS companies. So CPaaS is the foundation, and a UCaaS company is a vertical market application or service built on top of a hosted platform or some platform.
How does Appearon generate revenue?
There's a lot of products. So it sells termination services and origination services. That's a fancy name for minutes. Minutes going, you're talking on the phone, minutes going in, minutes going out. It also provides SMS services. It provides phone number services. It provides cellular services. It provides mobile data services. Some people call that Internet of Things, or IoT. Other data services like SD-WAN services. So Appearon has a pretty wide portfolio of services, all built on this platform that it built, the CPaaS, a CPaaS platform.
What types of customers does Appearon target?
Mostly small to medium-sized businesses. As we've started to grow the platform, we're keeping an eye out or keeping an eye on potential more enterprise customers, but our focus has been small to medium-sized business.
Does your Appearon business also target MVNOs?
We do target other resellers. So, for example, like a UCaaS company that might provide, like I said, hosted phone systems for businesses, they would contract with us. But MVNOs typically contract directly with what we call MNOs, or mobile network operators. Those are the cell phone companies. Remember, Appearon isn't just in the cellular mobile business. It's landline businesses, trunks into, we call phone trunks or SIP trunks into companies' phone systems. So we do landline business as well as mobile business.
What powers Appearon? You own a lot of your own network, but you also rely on relationships with telecom companies.
So we do, I mentioned earlier about how telecommunications carriers, we're all really integrated to each other. You asked, what does Appearon rely on? So Appearon, the founder of Appearon, Josh Plood, who has, more than 20 years experience building national networks, he created Appearon, I think it was around 2013, 2014, about 7 years ago. And he and his partner at the time, they constructed from the ground up, creating all the source code, putting in all the routing systems. They built a platform, a national network that is integrated probably with more than 30 carriers, I'd say, around not just North America, but outside the United States. And that platform that Appearon owns, and when I talk about owning your platform, some companies will use hosted cloud services, like they might host their platform, let's say at Amazon AWS, which is a good platform. But if you want to really be able to scale and control in very small micro increments, you might say, your network, and if you have the skill set, which we do, owning your own platform, the servers, the routing equipment, the interconnection, all the software, allows you to tune your network and deliver for the lowest possible cost, very high quality voice services and data services. So then what you asked, what drives Appearon, it's this platform that was built over the last 7 years.
What are the key advantages of Appearon's platform?
Well, I go back to when you own it all, right down to the source code. So here's an advantage. If we see changes in the market, for us to go in and create new products or tweak products, tune products, because it's all ours. Again, right down to the software source code, we can go in and mold that network to quickly respond. So I'll give you an example of a trend that seems to be happening right now. Private LTE operating on the CBRS frequencies. I'm talking about cellular now. With 5G, there is a need to put in a lot more cell towers throughout the United States. So you're seeing large campus environments. And a campus environment might be an airport or a university campus or a stadium, where owners, the people who own this real estate, are saying, we're going to put in our own 5G private LTE network, utilizing either the public or the private CBRS frequencies. So think of these as small little cell phone carriers. Well, these real estate companies that own these assets, who put in these networks, then have to realize that in a way they're like a mini cell phone company. So how are they going to integrate with the rest of the telecom network? So one of the areas we're working on is modifying our network so that we can actually support private LTE. So if companies want, or campus environments want to develop these private LTE networks on CBRS, we'll be able to support them. Because we own that network, we can go in and quickly respond. We don't have to go get permission, say, from a software provider, maybe is providing us some software applications, and hope that they'll modify their software to respond to the market.
What strategy does Appearon implement for acquiring new customers?
There are three main prongs, you might say, for a sales process. Direct sales, which would be hiring your own direct sales force employees, and they'd go out and look for generally enterprise customers. The second prong would be embracing the internet, SEO, search engine optimization, selling your product directly to the consumer of that product via the internet. And the third method would be utilizing the vast network of telecom agents. We call that the indirect channel. So up to this point, it's a little embarrassing to say, we've been kind of waiting for the phone to ring. And we've grown okay just by taking that farming approach of sitting back and waiting for the phone to ring. But now we're changing that strategy into a proactive sales strategy, and we are embracing the indirect channel, so the agent channel. In fact, we just launched our agent platform maybe a few weeks ago. It could be a month now that's passed, and taking a more proactive approach to selling.
Does Appearon have long-term or short-term contracts with its customers, and can you comment on the churn rate of Appearon's customers?
The majority of our revenue is all under contract, typically 1 to 2 year contracts. So that's because when a company will contract with us to provide, say, phone trunks for their PBXs or termination services or whatever service we're selling, we'll give a guaranteed price, but that price is based on some customer commitment. So we require that customer execute an agreement with us. I think you asked about re-up contracts. We call it churn rate. The churn rate in Appearon, I'd say the vast majority, so it's well over 90% of those customers just re-up year after year, or the vast majority of that revenue.
Infinity Mobile operates within the Lifeline program. Explain what that program is and why you even got involved in the business.
Revenue diversity is really important to me. When KonaTel started out as an Mvno, we were a one-trick pony, and that's fine if things are going great, but if you had a sudden change in the marketplace and you're stuck doing just that one thing, it's not too good. So over the years, I've really diversified the revenue buckets for KonaTel, and so acquiring Infinity Mobile, one of the reasons was diversity in revenue. Two, it's very, very difficult to get into that business. The barrier to entry is enormous. There are only 12, I think it's about 12 Lifeline, national wireless Lifeline resellers left in the United States that hold an FCC license. And the last license to be granted was way back in 2012. There's no new licenses. So it's a defensible market, huge barrier to entry. And internally, KonaTel had people who understood that business, who understand working with the government. And the other probably the last reason is it's a hedge. It's a revenue hedge. So it's not only diversity of revenue, it's a revenue hedge. So we even saw during COVID, we didn't have a big downturn really across the board. But if you think about businesses who's dependent on other business and your revenues start to decline, the Lifeline business goes up because more people become unemployed, more people become low income, and they're eligible for that product. So I think one could argue within our revenue mix, we also have a bit of a hedge against economic downturn.
Explain what the Lifeline program actually is and when that was established.
You could trace all the way back to the 1930s, but I'm not going to go that far. Really, back to the 1920s under President Reagan, you had the Telecommunications Act of, I think it was 1984. And what this basically created was a government subsidized phone service for low-income Americans. It wasn't free phone service, it was subsidized. And it was meant to provide basic phone service at a very, very low cost to low-income Americans. The program has grown over the years. So for the first thing, the program has been around a really long time, all the way back to '84. So that's, I don't know, was that 37 years, 38 years, something like that. So it's been around a long time, survived different administrations, Republican administrations, Democrat administrations, and probably 70 sessions of Congress. So it's pretty well established. The program is expanded under President George W. Bush, right before President Obama took office. The program expanded to include cell phone service now. And that's the area that we play in Lifeline, is providing a cellular service in the states that we're licensed. We have a national license from the FCC, and then we also have individual state licenses. So it's a government subsidized program to provide phone service for low income.
Can you expand on the differences between having an FCC license compared to a state license as it relates to the Infinity Mobile's business?
There are some different types of Lifeline carriers. I don't want to imply there are only 12 nationally, because there are also local Lifeline carriers. So local phone companies can provide Lifeline service, but they're limited to their service area. So if you go into some of the rural parts of America, and there's maybe a local phone company that provides landline phone service into your house, your business, those phone companies do provide Lifeline, but it's limited to their service area. So with us, we have a national license. We call it a compliance plan from the FCC. And what that says is that we can go to the different state public utilities commissions, the PUCs, and we can ask for state approval to distribute wireless Lifeline in their particular states. If you didn't have that FCC national license, I believe either all or most all the states you could not expand unless you had that FCC license in tow.
Who supplies the phones and services that enable you to operate Infinity Mobile?
So Infinity Mobile has reselling agreements with all the large national carriers. So T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon. And we go into the communities where there are a lot more low-income families, and we distribute that cellular service on one of the three networks, AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile. And it's usually dependent on what networks have good coverage in a particular area.
The Lifeline business has recently evolved as the result of a new development. Can you please discuss what happened?
So I mentioned, again, with President George W. Bush, Lifeline expanded to include cellular. And most recently, Congress voted to approve $3.2 billion that went into a temporary fund called the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program, or EBB for short. And then the FCC basically created the EBB program. And this program provides unlimited LTE data, or unlimited data, and that could be wired data, but we're focused on the wireless side. So unlimited LTE high-speed data to low-income families that have desperately needed it, especially during COVID. You get this, a lot of people either working from home or children at home who are trying to attend school. Well, if you don't have an internet connection, you're kind of out of luck. So it's a new program that just started up on May 12th. Like I said, $3.2 billion was allocated to the program. It's temporary relief during COVID. So we don't know if the program will be refunded after the initial $3.2 billion is exhausted.
With regards to Infinity Mobile, please explain the difference in the government subsidized rates between the original Lifeline program and the just passed EBB program.
There are a couple different subsidies. The base subsidy is $9.25 per month that we receive from the government to provide basic cell phone service. If that recipient resides on tribal land, then the reimbursement rate goes up. It adds an additional $25. It takes us to $34.25. Under the EBB program, we receive a subsidy of $50. Because under the other plans, other Lifeline plans, we're not providing unlimited data, but under the EBB plan, we have to provide unlimited data. So hence the additional reimbursement rate, which allows us to provide unlimited high-speed data. And as a Lifeline carrier, in addition, we're still providing voice and SMS along with that data package.
When do you expect your revenue to start benefiting from the new $3.2 billion emergency broadband program?
And when do you expect to see your revenue start to benefit from the new emergency broadband program?
So the program launched on May 12th, which is about 2 weeks ago. We are onboarding is the term we use. We're onboarding a lot of our existing Lifeline recipients. We're onboarding them into the EBB program if they want to join the program. So we'll start seeing this month in May and June. So in the second quarter, we'll see the impact. Not the full. We won't have the full second quarter in there because we missed the first month of the quarter. But that's when we'll see the impact.
How many states is Infinity Mobile currently approved to operate in, and are you looking to expand into more states?
We're currently authorized in 8 states. We expanded we added Kentucky maybe about a year ago, 8 months ago, and we have a pending approval right now in California.
Infinity Mobile has been generating most of its revenue by offering services in Oklahoma. Please discuss why this is the case and why you have not aggressively expanded into the 7 other states you are approved to operate in.
So right now we concentrate primarily in Oklahoma because we've been focusing on distribution in very small towns, rural areas where there's a lot of tribal land. With this EBB program, because the reimbursement is higher, we can now actually go out and offer unlimited talk, unlimited text, and the unlimited data component of EBB in all the other 7 states. Before, we couldn't offer the unlimited data because people, low-income folks just couldn't afford it, and the subsidy wasn't great enough to distribute. So now EBB has really opened up the ability to deliver this unlimited data along with voice and text to the other 7 states.
Can you talk about the stickiness of the customers in your Lifeline business?
Sure. We call it the churn rate in Lifeline is higher than most cellular businesses. I don't talk about the details of our churn rate, but I know based on conversations with other Lifeline carriers, our churn rate is substantially lower, and we work really hard to control that churn rate. And you can control your churn rate through a lot of different techniques, follow-on services. So it's something you have to watch very closely in this business.
In terms of generating new customers through the new $3.2 billion EBB program, what would you be happy with?
What's possible in Lifeline, the largest Lifeline carrier, ETC we call them, is privately owned, and they have about 2 million subscribers, 2 million customers or recipients. We're at just under 6,000. We're one of the smaller ones because we're earlier in our evolution. So the potential in the market is substantial. There are still several million unserved households in the United States that are eligible to receive Lifeline and don't have the service for a myriad of reasons, mostly because they don't know about it. Expanding into California is a big part of the growth plan, and we'll know pretty shortly here if we'll be approved in California. So if we expand into California and with the EBB program, getting to 100,000 lines of service would be a great success. Now you might say, well, wait a minute, if other players out there have 500,000, 1 million, 2 million lines of service, 100,000 lines of service is, don't you think that's setting the bar too low? At 100,000 lines of service, you're looking at a company, just that one division will be generating over 30 million a year in revenue. So, like in baseball, we talk about instead of swinging, for the fences, trying to get a home run every time, how about just getting on first base? So right now, my getting on first base is getting us to 100,000 lines of service, and we can shoot for the moon after that.